You are now in the realm of enlightenment and transformation.
Welcome to Chief Speaks.
All music performed and produced by Yu Ya.
Enlightenment and transformation. Enlightenment comes from allowing yourself to journey through the dark shadows of death, the primordial abyss of wisdom's waters. For it is the treasures and mysteries that lie wait in the dark that transform us and propel us to a new enlightened state. One should neither aspire to live in the light nor the dark, but should journey between the two in order to evolve the overall reality into a self-actualized creation. Knowledge is your light as wisdom is your darkness. The bold interplay of the two in your life leads you to an enlightened understanding of yourself and the universe you've created. Male is your enlightenment. Female is your transformation. Child is your evolution. Woman, accept the light into your darkness so it may enlighten you. Man, bring your light boldly into the darkness so that it may transform you. Enlightenment and transformation.
I love you so much because you just don't know what you've just done for me. Thank you so much.
Wow. This is like the best call I've had in ages on BTR.
So this show was meant for me to be able to hear today, and I'm so thankful.
That's his home.
Therefore, now a new pathway has now been cut in order to get to the Almighty, where there may not have been one. So the communication with them, if they have enough power and strength to talk to us, the communication will be very clear.
That's one of the reasons I don't get into the current events thing too much, because it starts to become a perpetual alarm clock that we just keep hitting snooze on. I speak to the ascended masters, quote unquote. I talk about spiritual stuff, but I also speak about some very practical, we can do today things.
Be as natural as you can be with your spiritual. You can't always go by your feelings, because your feelings are corrupted. Your feelings are just as corrupted as everything else, your chakras and everything else. You got to know what's beyond you, and that's why we have elders. We can't do everything. You can't get everything out of books or weekend certification. You can have the most powerful, ancient, oldest, most, as far as you know, truthful tradition in your hands, and if you still have a dirty spirit, you're not going to get anything out of it. You're not going to learn anything. You're not actually going to grow. I try to teach in a way where I make myself obsolete. That's always been my goal, to make myself obsolete.
I really wanted to, kind of big you up. I think you're awesome.
There's a lot of elders out here right now that want to know what's going on. They're not getting on Twitter and stuff like that, but they want to be up on the new stuff. Sit down and have some conversations with them. It's not always about hearing their story. It's also about being news reporters for them and letting them know, like, yeah, this is what's happening right now. They may tell you something about what happened in Charleston that you couldn't even. Your spirituality has to create sane spiritual family. Okay, and that family exists first inside of you. You have to express the different expressions of that rainbow coalition of spirits inside of you first. Okay, don't let communities hijack that rainbow. The problem is when we come into the conscious community, the dudes are doing the same thing that the women are doing.
I just want to say that I really enjoy your show every Sunday, and my friend and I call it going to church. When we call in, we'll be like, you going to church? And I'm like, where have y'all been at?
God cannot go against its own truth. So anytime you have an inkling that God is going against its own truth, then God is no longer behaving as God. So therefore, the spiritual community doesn't recognize God. You dig where I'm coming from? Or can we have a new thought? Can we step outside of the books for a second and have a new conversation about hair weaves and wigs? Can we have a new conversation about homosexuality? Can we have a new conversation about vegan eating? What are we doing? It's a good day for an exorcism.
All right. It's like old school. I used to come on the air back in the days. But welcome and everyone and greetings, especially those of you in the chat who have already offered me
Doing greetings, and as well to the Anu family. Let me wish you greetings right on back to you. All right. And I trust that you all are moving strong in your convictions today, your convictions and your purpose, and you're clear on where you want to be and clear on what you want to do. Let me just get myself a little better here. All right. But of course, you are listening to Chief Speaks, and I am Chief Yuya, and we're dealing with the concept and the idea of the solstice. And of course, it just passed recently, right? So we got to experience it live and direct, So I want to wish you all a happy solstice. And I definitely, I will, that some of the things that we've been talking about and that we've been teaching on, that you've had an opportunity to learn about them, and maybe you've even done some of your own research and study to get tighter on some of the things that were being shared. So, I definitely will that you have had that experience. All right. So as always, I want to welcome those of you who are listening live. I want to welcome those of you who are coming in from the archives. Those of you who are just coming in, who will probably get this many years later through some podcasting platform, I want to just welcome you. All right. Whenever you got here, whenever you came was when you were supposed to be here. Just remember that. All right. So, and let me add a little piece as it pertains to that. I know a lot of you have been asking about the, since we've come off of Blog Talk, we haven't had the shows like on some of the standard podcasting platforms, like for instance, like YouTube. But we're actually in the process now of transferring some of the shows over so that they will be on those podcasting platforms. So for instance, I think we came off of Blog Talk around around May. So what we're in the process of doing is taking all of those shows from May 17th, which is really when I started doing the daily community segments. So there's a lot, it's not just the Sunday Chief Speaks, but when we started doing the daily community segments up until through the end of the year, we're going to be putting those on back on the podcasting platforms, not Blog Talk Radio, but those of you who have been accessing them from iTunes and stuff like that, you'll be able to grab them from there again, as well as the Anu app. All right, because they'll be flowing through there. So I know it was more convenient to be able to use it like that. In fact, I prefer to listen to the segments whenever I did go back and listen to them, but I prefer to listen to them myself through through utilizing the actual app, so that way you're not burning up your battery with YouTube. I get it. All right, so I just wanted to let you all know that we're in the process of working on that, as well as we're currently redesigning the app, and there'll be a iPhone app coming as well, so you'll be able to get on through your iPhones as well. All right, so a lot of those projects we're going to knock out like early 2018, and kind of tie up some of those loose ends that have been hanging over we haven't been able to get to, just because there's been so much going on. All right, so yeah, like I said, I just want to welcome everyone, and remind you all, like I said, I will every segment that I will be in Toronto next month, Toronto, Canada, January 27th. And actually, I gotta put the ticket links up. I'm gonna put them up on all the platforms before this segment is over. I'm going to try to get the ticket links in the chat room as well. All right, the Eventbrite tickets. All right, let me see if I can pull them up right now. But so you can start, for those of you who are gonna sojourn with us and be out there with us, you can start getting yourself ready now. I'm just looking for the ticket links, but I'm gonna put them up for you. All right, so all right, I'll find those later, but I'll put them up there before we're going. I'm gonna put the links up before we're going. They're in my email here. All right, but in any event, like I said, we've been dealing with the idea of the solstice, and no different than last session, we're going to do the same thing this session. And some of you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. So what I'm seeing here is we got 31 viewers and we have 20 likes. You know what I'm going to do. All right. So we're coming up to that 20 minute mark. And yeah, I do have readings and work today. All right. So I'm not going to go through the whole spiel like I did last Sunday, but I did notice that the likes were considerably increased on last Sunday's video, which again, like I told you, just only lets me know that you could do it if you feel like it. But you just like, no, you're going to give me this free information, Chief. Y'all keep trying to put me in a headlock and deboing me. You're going to get this information, you know? Yeah, well, you're going to put that like in there. And if you don't, I'm going to close it down. See, now we up to 24 likes. See how we went to 4 plus 26 likes. You see that? Look at that. See how quick that was? You know, it went down to 29 viewers. Yeah, because if you got to give, you want to leave. Now we're at 29 likes and 29. You see how quick that was? So this is a great example. A lot of times, sometimes people comment and say, you know, Chief, you said that before. You repeated yourself. You see why I have to repeat myself? We went through this whole long thing last session about hitting the like button. And the same people jumped in on this session and just ignored it. So until I said it again, now we up to 30 likes. Until I said it again, no one was going to do anything. Like sometimes you have to constantly drive it in, because as I've taught you and shared so many times, our people are not a people of memory, and that's what keeps messing us up every single time. We are not a people of memory. We're a people of emotion. We get hyped for the moment. We get excited for the moment, and then we forget. You know, we catch people in scandals and doing all kind of foul things to us and other people, and then we forget. And then we just accept them right back into our folds, because we are not a people of memory. So that is why, yeah, I had to repeat again, and I'm going to repeat it again. I know I'm going to have to. Them likes better match those views, and if they're not, I'm shutting everything down. That's how we doing it for 2018. All right. There's going to be a little bit of reciprocity, because that ain't no real reciprocity. You're just hitting a button. That's nothing. But there's going to be at least some semblance of reciprocity going forward. You know, just because people give things to you and help you doesn't mean that they work for you. You should remember that. Just in general in life, remember that, you know. Well, like I said, man, we've been sitting here and we've been standing up and dealing with the solstice information and that sun stilling. And just as a review, you know, what we kind of touched upon our last segment, we spoke about the opportunity for fertilization, you know, during that solstice period, and more importantly, how that stilling provides us an opportunity to fertilize. And one of the things that I spoke about in a recent little video I popped up on, just a thought that had came to me that I felt like maybe some people were skipping out on it. And I know some of you who listen are not necessarily on social media, so I'm going to just share what I said. And I basically just said that, you know, when we're going through that time of the solstice, man, one of the things is not only, you know, are we at our weakest state, you know, all right, young butterfly, take that, you know what, you should take that comment out. I'm not even going to read it, but when it starts with all due respect, Chief, I know it's going to be some BS afterwards. All right, don't let me, we're 20 minutes into the show, don't let me have to read anything like that. All right, I know it's some BS. With all due respect, that means you're trying to teach me something. Don't come in here trying to teach me anything. Take the comment out the chat. Yeah, yeah, let all, and I see something about new listeners or something, just take it out of there. Don't all due respect me. All right, all due respect, with all due respect yourself. How about that? But anyway, and we up to 39 viewers, and I don't care. I don't want any excuses. 38 likes, good. So we're keeping up, you know. But like I said, so we speak about that time of that fertilization, because one of the things that's key and that's important is that the sun is at its weakest state. So we spoke about the childlike state of the sun during the time of the solstice, because it's a birthing. And of course, when the Most High or the Creator comes back, it always comes back as a baby. It comes back with the curiousness and the wonderment, being born again, but being born again as a child. And of course, a weakened state. Right. So the weakened state of that winter solstice represents, being surrounded by more darkness than having light. Our light hasn't really come to its apex as of yet, like it does in the summer. But it's a time of fertilization, because in that quietness and in that silentness, or that silence, we get an opportunity to fertilize the greatest aspects of who and what we came to be, to really bask ourselves in the maternal darkness. And in that maternal darkness, of course, that darkness and that silence and that quietness represented, hey, young butterfly, I don't see that comment out the group yet, out the chat yet. What's going on? I know your delay isn't that bad. What's happening? Are you ignoring what I said when I said take that comment out the group? Yeah, let me just do this. Let me remove it. There we go. Because I don't even want to see that in the corner of my eye. I don't even want to see it. Yeah. All you new listeners, like, oh my goodness, he's a monster. Oh my goodness. Yeah, maybe he is. There's always things that some people see that other people don't see. There's always little nuances and little subtleties. Yeah, see, the viewership just dropped. See that? They didn't like that. They didn't like me taking that comment out. But there's always little subtleties that people who are more aware than other people will pick up on. And then sometimes when you comment on it or you speak on it, they're like, oh my goodness, what, they think you're being extra, you're going overboard, but it's just I'm seeing something that you don't see. So you can learn, like Esme said when she put her comment in the group, she said, greetings all, gonna ride the battery till it dies, going for the ride. This is how you learn. And that's part of the weakness and the fertility that we're supposed to have during that winter solstice. The weakness that we're supposed to have, we're supposed to learn to listen. Respect those who have gone a little further than us. Respect those who have gone a lot further than us, who have a higher perspective, who have a broader perspective. Respect those who are smarter, who are wiser, who are stronger, because again, we're coming through as children again. So from a personal level and a universal level, we're tapping back into the core of what we are. And the core of what we are is a very small thing. It's a very small thing. So the sun being at its weakest or representing that childlike aspect, the piece there. Yeah, I see you say, forgive me for my delay, young brother. Yeah, I ain't gonna forgive you because you shouldn't have put that in there. You know better. You know better than most. You know better. All right. Nobody needs you to speak up for them or to make excuses for them, number one. And number two, don't ever assume that I don't know what people are doing and that there's new listeners or anything like that. That's the quietness and the weakness of the child that comes through in the winter solstice. Sometimes we talk too much, man. Just listen, recognize what's in front of you and respect it, Yeah. And your teachers don't always have to be friendly with you. I don't always have to get on and say, hey, let me tell you, and look at it this way and look at it that way. No. You say something that's soft, I can say, what the F are you doing? I taught you better than that. Something wrong with that. They don't call me Baba for nothing. Baba is father. So I have to take on that responsibility just as such, man. And that's the difference between someone who's just running their mouth to be heard on social media or YouTube or whatever, and someone who's really trying to bring you to your strongest point and bring you out of the darkness and just try to wake you up to some things about yourself that are better than yourself that you may not have known, and those things that are echoing that you're sending out that you may not be aware of, that, take a wall and bounce the echo back to you. Here, this is what you just did. I'm not going to absorb it. I'm going to bounce it back to you so you can see it. And sometimes when it's bounced back, it doesn't feel so good. It's not as pleasant, but it's the truth and the reality of what is, but anyway, so like we were saying, the aspects that we're dealing with here and that reinstitution or that bringing forth again of that sun in that small space is a process of fertility. And it's the unfolding It's the constant unfolding of our creation, which goes from large to small, large to small, large to small, large to small, life to death, life to death, life to death. And in every change and in every experience that we go into, there's a spiritual sun that's inside all of us. And it's born, and like I said in our last segment, it's born in a time of darkness. And, when it becomes or it goes at its apex, then it has an opportunity to give light to the physical world, but the spiritual sun at first doesn't have very much light of its own. It only just has enough a light to give us life. You see, so there's a difference between having that spiritual sun inside of you that's giving life to you. It becomes the core of your existence in many senses. But then when it starts to extend itself outwards and it extends itself outside of your auric body, of your own aura, you know what your aura is, right? Your aura is that electromagnetic field that exists around you. Okay. So, when it starts to extend itself outside of your auric body, then it presents the opportunity to be a light for others. It becomes a light for other people, So that's the key here. In this time, you're kind of really just self-medicating in a sense. You're using your own sun to really realize your own salvation. When we talk about a savior being born, of course, you are your own savior, So that savior being born it's a large intention there in terms of what's being shared, is that there's a profound message that you have for yourself to dig into, and that's what I spoke about in that little short clip that I had put up, and I just said basically, sometimes, we forget through all of our grinding and of all of our moving and our motivating and our trying to get stuff done, and I'm trying to take it to the next level and level up. And of course we have all these different phrases that we utilize to speak about all the things that we do. I'm leveling up and I'm doing this and I'm bringing my A game, and all of that's cool. I love to see people motivated and excited about what they want to do in life. So I'm not speaking against that in any shape, form, or fashion. But like I've often said, when you're out here and you're battling, whether you're battling your demons and that's a part of what you're leveling up to do and trying to get better at and make a better existence for yourself, or you're just trying to make some money or try to get your business going or whatever, you're still on the front lines. There's a battle of some sorts. And the reality is, if you remain on the front lines for too long, you will go insane. Okay. I've shared that, Jim, before, and sometimes I think people don't realize where the front line is, or where the battle is, or where the fight is, and how there's a reason why there's a death and then there's a spiritual reawakening, because we're reawakening into our source. We return to the source. What is the source? Well, darkness is the source. And then we're reborn in darkness. You see, it's like dipping yourself back into, well, I don't say that, but dipping yourself back into recharging pools, the fountain of youth, or El Dorado, and then coming back forth again. You see, so there's a time when you have to hit a pause button. And I know that's really hard, because for, many of us, we may live in areas or regions where it's very hard to make a living. So it feels like we can never have an opportunity to pause, or an opportunity to kind of pull back for a moment and really re-strengthen ourselves with a chambering. When you go back into your chamber, like what a serpent does when it pulls back, when it's getting ready to attack, it chambers the attack first, you see. Or coming forth in that cave like Yeshua did, going into that dark cave or into that barn, and that, we talk about the manger and the barn, but it's all it's representative of light being born in the darkest and most old and obscure of places, so when we're able to go and pull back into our obscurity, then we hit a pause. So you might be working on something, or, okay, you scared, I'll say it, just, what is this? What are you doing? Is it darkness? That's what that emoji is? I want to know what that is. Is that a dark egg you just put in the chat room? All right. Give me the breakdown on the hieroglyph. I just saw it pop out of the corner of my eye while I was talking about going into the cave. So I'm wondering if you were syncing your emojis with what I was saying, like giving me a little visual accompaniment. But yeah, sometimes the complexities that we're so committed and involved in and involved with, we lose sight of the reality that there is a time that we hit the pause button and we pull back and we realize here's the key, very important thing. Yes, the black hole. Okay, cool. That's what I thought. I don't know all these emojis, so I see them. I don't even know how to make them. I told you, I'm very easily impressed. I see like a black hole emoji. Yo, I'm impressed so easily. But yeah. So one of the things that I didn't share, of course, because of the fertility of it all, is that during the time of the winter solstice, there's a dangerous aspect of your refertilizing, and that the things that you're rushing and you're running to do, they multiply and they magnify. You see, like just like when that ground is sitting underneath the snow and sitting underneath the leaves and things like that, and it's becoming rich and fertile again, the things that you may plant on it, you may take a bunch of seeds and sprinkle it all over the snow, right? So now it has all that time to soak down into the earth and germinate and gestate. So it becomes an even stronger weed when the springtime comes forth again. So one of the important things to realize why it's so important to take that pause in the times of the solstice is because it's a great time of fertility. And you want to always pull back. And I see this so often, especially sometimes people I'm talking to or trying to explain things to. I was talking to someone about that yesterday, actually, about sometimes just the hard-headedness of people, don't know what they're doing, come to you for help. You start giving them the information and the help, and they start debating with you because they're so locked into movement. They're so locked into the masculine aspect of expansion, which we call ego, expanding beyond the source. So they're locked in this perpetual state of moving. When I say moving, moving forward, because it's a tango. You got to move forward, you got to move backwards in order to grow. But they're locked into a perpetual forward. So they come to you and say, hey, I need help. And unless you're able to overpower them or outrun them, if you just say, okay, well, here, this is what you do, and they have to recoil or move backwards a little bit in order to understand what you're saying, they'll say, no, that's not what I want. Or they'll start fighting you. And they're fighting, what they're trying to do is they're trying to raise up your energy to the level of their fight, to the level of their run. So they're trying to make your explanation hot. So now you're arguing. No, I'm trying to tell you this, but you're not listening, and you're going back and forth and you're arguing. And now what that does is it allows them to not have to slow down at all, but they're fighting on their way forward. That's not the way you learn things. And one of the things that you understand after a while is that people who would really teach you or help to enlighten you and bring you into positive events in your lives, in order to help you to move out of the places that you're locked into, will stop teaching you things, because that's nothing but a pain in the behind. That's all that is. It's not enjoyable as a teacher, because usually if you're a teacher, you're someone who has a lot of information. One of the reasons that you have a lot of information is because you spent a lot of time, or you spend a lot of time in sacred places. You spend a lot of time decoding complex symbols, or trying to make sense out of the nonsensical, or protecting information from people who would misuse it, or protecting people from the information that they would have that they would misuse, so forth and so on. You're trying to preserve sacredness. You're trying to preserve that which you cherish, and you're spending a lot of time throughout your lifetime doing that. You have very little time to be arguing with people. So when someone says, hey, let me get this information from you, and you take out the time to give it to them, it's a sacrifice. And then if they're ignorant enough to argue with you while you're sacrificing for more important things than them to give them something, then as a teacher, you say eventually, you know what? I'm not answering that phone call next time that person calls. I don't care what the emergency is. I'm not answering the text. I'm not answering the email or the DM or whatever what comes in, but I'm just not answering that person anymore. They ruined that opportunity because they didn't know how to be the baby in the moment. They didn't know how to allow themselves to recoil enough to go into that darkness, to be fed again. They didn't want to be fed. So therefore, I'm not going to give them any more of this light. I'm not going to give them this sacredness that I would give a divine child, because a divine child is a quiet child, it's a receptive child. It recognizes the power of its own fertility. So you find people who are constantly caught in the movements of trying to get things done. I want to get it done. I want to get it done. Or every time you say something to them, they get angry with their, I don't understand. I don't understand what you're saying. That's your problem. It's not my problem. Your anger is your problem. It's not my problem. So when you find that you kind of get locked into these entanglements with individuals like that, it becomes dangerous for them because of the level of fertility that's happening during that winter solstice. It's that time for pause. Some of you have been on the receiving end of that, and you're probably listening like, he talking about me, where I've just walked away from you. Tried to explain things to you, and it's the almighty, I'm listening. You ain't listening. So then I'll just say, all right, okay, cool, you got this, and walk away. Why? Because I'm busy doing more important things. You're not that important. And if I took out time to teach you something or talk to you, even if I'm being paid for it, because you can never pay me what I'm really giving you, because if you pay me some money to teach you something, I'm going to spend the money. It's going to be gone. But the information I'm going to give you, you're going to have for your entire life. Your children may have it. Your grandchildren may have it. Your great-grandchildren may have it. You're going to have it in the ancestral realm. Whatever you pay me, I don't care how much it is, I can't take it with me. I'm going to burn through it. So, as a priest, I would hope you would always know to never hold raiment, never to hold money or monetization over the sacredness of what it is that you're sharing. Because all of that stuff is temporal. It's not about the money. It's about being able to give something to a beloved and sacred individual who will not only preserve it, but will protect it. And when you see that people are locked into the egoic aspect of that summer solstice, where they're constantly, they're moving forward. That's why during that high summertime, you have the Leo energy. And that Leo energy, it's all about me. Roar. And they roar outwards. They're not really looking to take anything in, or to learn anything. And there is a season for that. There is a time and there's a season for that. But then there's also a season to pull that arrow back, like that Sagittarius, to pull the arrow back behind you, and to chamber, or like that Scorpio, to pull that stinger back and chamber it before you strike, you see. So there are lives and stories that we can learn about through, obviously, like we spoke about a little bit, in terms of the existence or the existing of all of these different, I guess we could say, like even the Madonna and child concepts, but all these different saviors that come forth on a certain child, and there's a certain potential that is inside of that child that's like a seed, and it's still asleep, and they're asleep to the larger reality of what they're currently existing inside of. You see, so during that solstice time, you recognize and you're sensitive to the fact that there's more that I don't know than I do know. Like you have the known variables, and you have the known and the unknown, unknown. So there are things out there that I don't even know that I do not know. You see, I am sleep. I am still sleeping, and I'm really trying to charge the potential of me becoming an awakened person and an enlightened person, you see. But the only way that I can do that is by hitting that pause button. And that's what I spoke about in that little video. And again, I commend and I congratulate, and, I really can value. I see one of your 7 clones. All right, Jason Mason. Cool. Well, when you go say what's up to him, when you see him, man, go say what's up to him, show him some love, break him off with some bread, and yeah, take a selfie with him, So yeah, when we're really speaking about the intrinsic nature of what's reflected inside of us during that winter solstice. It's the pausing of the heavens, understanding that when we're going through a creative process, we're giving birth to something that's spiritual inside of something that would normally be dead. So it's a rebirthing of our spirit, right? Because the spirit is what's animating things. The spirit is that savior that's coming into the world. And of course, again, in certain traditions, you have these saviors that were born in caves, like I said, stables, barns, even prisons, and all of that represents not only the power, of that darkness, but that it also represents how you got this great potential and this great light and this movement that's coming inside of something that's limited. You see, so if I'm born, like we use the term silver spoon. Oh, I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth, right? So what does that mean? And I want to also congratulate those of you who are keeping up with the likes. Congratulations. I'm seeing it. We're matching, and I feel respected to some degree. I feel respected to some degree as a result. Thank you. All right. But we say like the term silver spoon. I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. Well, what does that mean? That means, maybe I had to come up the rough side of the mountain. I didn't necessarily have everything handed to me. In life, I had to go out and realize it. I had to go out and get it. I may have dwelt in poverty or was born into poverty, but maybe I'm still in poverty, or maybe I was able to repurpose myself and to achieve my actual potential and move beyond that. Even though I didn't have the silver spoon in my mouth. But intrinsically, I may have known that there is something around me and something in me that can discover something greater than what I was born into. So that's the symbolic meaning of, the caves and the stables and the barns and the prisons that all of these great saviors are born into. They symbolize the quieting potential of being handicapped, the quieting potential of humility. You see, so a child is born in the dark, with no state of mind, no. But anyway, so we recognize that, you see, and that's with those pointings or those potentials towards enlightenment, recognizing the quietness of our winter solstice. We're looking at the humility of the body, because if you think about it, for those of us who live in climates where it gets cold or colder, during that solstice, you really feel the limitations of your body when it's cold, right? You wake up and everything's cracking and you want to stay under the covers and you're cold and machinery doesn't work right. Your key doesn't work in your car door, or the car just doesn't start. You find out that the battery was weak all year round, but you didn't know until it got cold. Your tires are losing pressure because that's what happens when the ground is cold. The pipes in your house freeze up. So you start to see that all the things that would normally provide movement and mobility for you, that during this time that they stop. They don't work as well. And the same thing with your body. When it's summer, you're active, you want to go and run and move, everything is nice and warmed up. But the idea there, or the purposing there, is that you start to understand, well, this is my time of movement and activity, but in the winter time, it's time to slow things down. Things are not going to move the way I want them to move. Like I said, your pipes will get frozen. You're slipping on the road. Your car isn't running like it should run. The viscosity in your oil is thickened up, so you got to let your car heat up longer, or put a different grade of oil in your vehicle, during the winter months, and so forth and so on. But it's the same thing being born, as a spiritual savior into your body. What it is the limitations of the dark, or the limitations and the humility of the body. So during the winter solstice, you recognize your limitations. You cut down that ego. You cut down that ego. In fact, here's an interesting thing. When we speak about Nut, right? And Nut, as often translated, is Neath, right? And Neath being those primal waters, right? Well, The only reason I'm saying it's interesting, well, there's a couple reasons I'm saying it's interesting. One, because we're working on a current sister by the name of Queen Neith, Hatshepsut. We're working on a Atlanta excursion next year to do a course on sexual alchemy that I'll be teaching, or the metaphysics of sex, right? And of course, her name is Queen Neith. So I just thought about her for a moment. So, but Neith, the name itself, it speaks to, or Nut, it speaks to the perpetual virginity of a particular energy, right? So in that sense, again, that savior being born out of that water, of Nut, that primordial water, it's like revirginizing yourself almost in a sense, because Nut is that, that perpetual virgin. And I know it's very interesting play on words if you say nut, which, is kind of it's the ending of virginity, but in some senses. But remember that the perpetual virginity is not necessarily that I haven't been entered into. It's that I remain young. It's I remain supple. Like when we think about the Virgin Mary, many people think that Joseph didn't have sex with her. It doesn't mean that she didn't have sex. A virgin was any young person. So a boy could be a virgin, a girl could be a virgin. It's just anyone who was young, representing again that there was a newness there. So during that winter solstice, we have an opportunity to revirginize, to come into a spark of consciousness again, where it's resparked. We may have had a flame all year round, which is cool, but we give the flame an opportunity to eat. We trust that it can die down, and we create a new flame, and that's a part of the process of creation, not only of the universe, but the creation of everything, the creation of our physical aspects, or of our spiritual aspects, of our soul aspects, and of our higher aspect. It requires that repose. It requires that pulling back, just for a moment where we can celebrate and have gratitude for what we've been able to do, where the body has carried us, but then respect the humility of it. So, connecting and speaking about that from the aspect of listening and receiving, as I was talking about, one of the things during the solstice, while we go into this quiet and silent space to fertility, because we're recognizing the humility and the frailty of our humanity. I don't know everything. There's more that I don't know than I do know. I've said it often. I mean, the things that I know in life could fill up a small room, with books. The things I know the things I know in life probably couldn't even fill up a 500 megabyte SD card. We didn't even get to gigabyte. 500 megabyte. That's probably about everything that I know at this point in my life. Maybe I'll get to a gig by the time I die. That's all the text I have in my mind, the book information, the memories, everything. It's probably about 500 megs. The things I don't know could fill up the 7 seas, and beyond. So you start to recognize that during the winter solstice. You come into that place of humility where it's like you recognize that there's so much that I don't know. There's a frailty there, and as a result, I need to be quiet. I need to listen. You can't live your entire existence as the Leo, roaring, being completely absorbed in self-preservation, being completely absorbed in just yourself and what I want to do and screw everybody else. Now, we know, I know we don't want to say it, but we know it's a common energy that Leos come with. They're selfish. When you get stuck into the hell of Leo, when you can't see beyond yourself, you stay just like there's a hell of Aries, want to fight all the time. But Aries do more talking than actual fighting, but everything is a fight. Everything is a battle, but you remember, like I often tell you, you're going around the circle of that zodiac. You're not supposed to get stuck in one. So at some point you become the Virgo, you become Nut or Neith, that perpetual virgin. You reset, you restart, in many senses. You know, you come into that place of those different solstices where, in the summer you say, I'm loud, I'm proud, I'm doing what I want to do, and I'm making it happen, and I have my own unique and distinctive voice, and then I can do anything because I'm at my strongest, I'm at my apex. The lamp of God has been polished. I'm at my apex. But in the winter, you say, woo, I'm just a raggedy go-kart, like I often, use as a description for the human body. I'm just that shopping cart, with the wheel that keeps spinning, that somebody left a coffee cup in, or one of their children left one of their gloves in. That's all my body is. That's all I am. Continually changing and decomposing and decompiling. And I can be grateful for the universal benefit that I've been able to give to the world as I've extended my light all year outside of my auric body. But now it's time to become a child of my own sun and to go inward, you see. Because I've gone outward all year, and everyone has beheld the great consciousness that I've represented. I've shined brighter than the Milky Way. I'm going brighter than Sirius B, but now it's time for me to go into my long night of my own solstice, of my own cycle. And in that time, I'm recognizing that, like I said, the sun is setting still. That's what the word solstice, of course, means. And you see in many traditions, like when you look at Saturnalia, and I know how foul Saturnalia is, so I'm not telling you to go make any shrines to Saturn, well, unless you want to, but you recognize there's a time, with Saturnalia and many other energies, they carry that sickle. Now, the sickle is what we use for harvesting, and if you're unfamiliar with the sickle it's very similar to the tool that Obai uses. Okay, so Obai in our Yoruba tradition, or even like we say the Grim Reaper, and it's the sickle of harvesting, and typically it's spoken about what it's used to harvest the souls, right? But during that time of stillness, and we see that what some cultures call Father Time, others called Chronos, what some of us in our traditions call Babalu Aye, but that Father Time comes to reap karma, right? So it's at that time that where things set still, where the sun sets still, and then things are hacked away and harvested. There's a death that comes, because that sickle is there, and it appears very briefly, to let us know that this is a sacred time where things have to now die down. There has to be a pause, and things will come back forth again. When you look at some traditions, you even have the symbolism of the Yule log, right? The Yule Yule log. And I don't know if they still show it. I remember years ago they used to. I don't watch TV, but I know they used to show the burning of the Yule log. I don't know. Do they still do that? You guys can tell me. I know some of you still probably have TV and stuff, but I remember years ago. Me, it was the stupidest thing, but it is what it is. And they would burn the Yule log, and they would broadcast it on TV, and you could just sit there and watch it. Hey, it is what it is, man. Maybe they have an app for it now, or whatever. But I don't know. Maybe they still show it on TV. Like I said, you all can let me know. But of course, the Yule log itself is a phallic symbol. So it has traditions and something deeper than just, showing the log on TV. And people will tell you, okay, the Yule log, represents the light, that light, that bonfire, that Yule log, represents the light of the soul and the burning, or the lighting of the soul. And it's a reminder of the light that we have inside of us that's being born, or that savior that's being born. And yeah, it absolutely is those things. It is that. But it's also the dying down or the burning up of the phallus. And the burning up of the phallus is the transformation of the phallus, the changing of it. Well, what does the phallus represent? Your creative potential. What is the yoni? Your productive potential. I know we always call the yoni, the vagina, it's the creation. The vagina is not creation. The vagina is death. It destroys. It doesn't create anything. It destroys everything. But there's a beautiful interplay there between creation and destruction, because through creation and destruction, it brings forth the embodiment of life. because the embodiment of life is building and destroying, creating and destroying. So every 30 days, the vagina expels death. Who the heck is, I don't say, how do I take it off vibrate? This thing is always vibrating, and I don't know. Maybe it won't go off too much more. All right. Anyway, phone distractions. But so like I was saying, yeah, the yoni is bringing forth that death, and the lingam is bringing forth life. Okay. And, you know, one is bringing construction, one is bringing deconstruction. The lingam is compiling, the yoni is decompiling. So during that time when you're burning that Yule log, which is really actually, like I said, it's a phallus symbol. It represents the burning of the phallus. You know, like when you have a baby is not, a baby can't make more babies. You know, it doesn't have that creative or reproductive potential as of yet. You know, so going back, like while we speak about when children are conceived, you know, they're all female at first. You know, that's representing that time where fertilization is high and it's receiving information. It's receiving DNA information and getting its instruction on what it's going to be and how it's going to conduct itself and how it may ultimately acclimate itself to the world, whether it be a servant, whether it be a master, whether it be a light of the world, whether it be the gloominess of the world. You know, it's creating that spirit and that energy to understand that, you know. So during that time, like I said, in some traditions, you have the burning of the Yule log. That's when masculinity is being brought down. No different than in the summer solstice, you have femininity or darkness being dispelled. You know, less shadows, the days, you get the longest day that you have. So there's always this constant interplay. And that's why you have to be very careful when you subscribe to philosophies that would tell you that one gender is needed and the other one isn't. You know, or one is deified and the other isn't deified. Like I've heard people say before that men or males are, what did this idiot say? She said something like they're basically GMO. They're genetically modified organisms because, you know, she was saying at one point everyone came out female and, you know, so men are kind of like a virus, you know. And I've heard some weak, simpish males use a similar, you know, theorem. It's just totally ass backwards. And of course, when you're committed and you're invested in a culture that seeks for unisexualization, you're gonna hear these stupid theories, and people are always going to get with them because you're not taught the strength of the interplay between the exchange that happens with both. That's what builds empires. You don't build an empire with one sex. That's just idiotic, man. You know, and people who purport these things or support these type of theorems and ideas, they're just dumb. They're just dumb, and they're just talking to dumb people. And I trust that you all are not those people. You may have even heard some of these theories of some of these people who I'm talking about. You know, I ain't gonna say names, but they're just dumb people. You know, just saying any old type of stupid thing. Oh, the females came first, so that means the males are weaker. Or we could say the females came first and the males are evolved form, so the males are better and stronger. You see, so we could go all kind of different directions with that, and neither one of them are correct. But you see how you can make anything sound right, because women, you know, we're all born a female, and then we turn to, so really we're deficient females. All men are deficient females, or they're all evolved females. Either way, both theorems are stupid. Leave it alone. You know, we came to the place of duality for a reason. You see, we are in the world of duality. So, again, you know, just kind of speaking about that spiritual sun being born and that spiritual sun coming forth, you know, it's an opportunity and it's a moment to avoid some of the confusion of our constant hustle, of our constant grind, where we're constantly pushing and driving forward, trying to make and create and be something, you know. We're constantly moving towards heaven, you know, like the Tower of Babel, you know, we're constantly moving into a place where we want to be amongst the gods. We want to, you know, or the God, however you imagine it. But we're constantly moving into this place of being, and it's a time where you stop trying to structure yourself towards being. Like when you look at the sacred I Ching, you have your first hexagram, which is Chin, and Chin is all light. Hexagram 1, right? You have 6 light lines or 3 light lines, because those first 8 hexagrams, very similar to the first 16 Odu in the Yoruba, they're uncomposited, So that first one, Chin, which represents heaven, is the fullness and the wholeness of masculinity. When we're looking at, again, the I Ching, so that Chin energy is like going towards heaven, making things happen, and more importantly, like striving towards being. It represents force, heaven, and it represents action. It represents being creative. It represents, like I was watching yesterday. Well, I had it on mute, but what was playing was the movie Pan that came out in 2015, and I was explaining to someone, as it was playing that pan, we get that pan flute from pan or pineal, penis. But either way, the pan flute, or you see a lot of these mythical energies, they're always playing the flute because the flute represents the phallus. It's a key to open up doors. In certain frequencies that you tune your phallus into, you can open up certain doors. That's why you can give birth to certain energies, certain deities, depending on how you attune yourself in your phallus. It's not just sticking it and pumping till you're done. You want to attune yourself to a certain field, right? So that you can bring forth certain things. So that pan flute, there was a certain scene where I've never really watched the movie, so I don't know what the scene was about. But when I glanced over, I saw Captain Hook. He took out it was like this little tiny pan flute, and he stuck it into a wall and used it as a key. And I said, look at that. There we go. So that flute or that pan, represents that key of going forward, but that's that light of the phallus. That's that Chin, again, in your I Ching hexagrams, which, we're told that it represents the creative heaven. But the creative heaven is just action, because there's a creative heaven, and then there's a receptive heaven or a receptive earth. And the receptive earth is your hexagram Kun, which is the second hexagram. Now, no different than with like Ifa, your first Odu being, Eji Ogbe, and then, which represents Ogbe, means to be or coming into being or to do. And then you have Oyeku Meji, which is the death Odu. So it's undoing, or not being. So the desire to go off into infinity, let's remove desire, because desire creates infinity. Desire creates a movement, wanting to go forward. But having non-desire brings us into the void. So you have an interplay between the infinite and the void, right? And I've heard some people say before, like the infinite void. You can kind of say that, but it gets confusing. Infinity is going forward. The void is just falling into the sunken place, falling into nothingness. So with your second hexagram in the I Ching, you have Kun, right? Kun, Kun. And Kun, it represents, they call it, it's the receptive flow, or they call it the receptive earth. So where you have in complement, and Kun is all female, it's all broken lines. If any of you have ever read the King or the Book of Changes, you understand that. So the idea there is, again, total receptivity, right, during that Kun. And that's the energy that comes forth during the winter, or during that solstice, where you become very receptive. But it's just like seeing Oba just for a moment, seeing the Grim Reaper just for a moment, seeing that sickle just for a moment. It's a flash of receptivity. It's just like when you're ritualizing. When you're ritualizing, you don't need to be deep for an hour. If it's an hour-long ritual, that's hard, but you don't need to do that. You only need a nanosecond to connect. A nanosecond, that's it. You could be doing a ritual all day and be like, man, I ain't feeling it. I'm just not feeling it. I'm trying to get myself in the mood. I got some liquor here. I got some cigars. I got some music playing, and I'm just not really feeling it, right? But that one slight moment when you do feel it is when the ritual actually happened. Yeah, it wasn't the hour-long mantra you were doing. You're doing all of that. You're doing all of the ritualization for the moment. Think about everything that you're studying now, and I did a segment on it. I think one of the slides is that, but I did a show where I explained that life is the magic ritual. So this entire experience that you're going through, it could be 40 years, 50 years, 60 years, it could be 10 years, depending on, when you transition, is the actual ritual so you can have that flash moment of death where you're quickened and caught up in the twinkling of an eye. All of this, you listening to me right now, me talking to you right now, me glancing over at the chat, you putting things in the chat, you hitting the like button, all that, it's all the ritual so that you can have the precise moment that you've been ultimately aiming and objecting for. You see, the back and forth, the energy of chin, of becoming God. That's the force of heaven. I create like God, and then becoming kun, I deconstruct like the earth. So to give you a better example, I can create like the Orisha, or I can deconstruct like the Iyami. You see, the Iyami are the vultures that are sitting at the four corners that are deconstructing, breaking things down constantly, just like your woman will in your household. I was telling someone that earlier today. Don't always be quick to walk away from a woman because she got a smart mouth. Check her. Don't let her know, if you have self-respect, you're going to be talking to me all crazy. But understand that whatever you're presenting in front of her, her first goal is to break it apart. See what it really is, to see what it's really made of. She's going to break it apart first. She wants to decompile it to see what it is, and you got to be able to stand strong, in that. No different than when you're intimate with the woman. You got to be able to stand strong in that thing. She starts whispering things in your ears or starts moving a certain way. You're like, no, hold still. Oh. You got to be able to stand strong and say, I got this. Where you going? Yeah, you move all you want. I got this. Go on, talk whatever you want to talk. I know what I'm doing. You see? And she says, oh, okay, daddy. All right. Okay. All right. You got this. She wants to be able to see that you can stand strong in the face of her destruction. You see? Crude examples, I know, but you guys know how I am. The vulgarity, it shakes the dust off of you. Some of you too dusty. I'm gonna go to a question in the chat. I saw a question mark in here earlier. Okay, Michelle asked. She said, posing a question to. Oh, this is for the group, so this ain't really for me, but I'll say it out loud. Is the summer solstice our peak, where we should study and absorb information, whereas in the winter solstice we should hibernate and retreat to learn about yourself? Okay, I'm gonna see what you guys said. Vivid Eye Publications. Oh no, okay. Alien Black Girl says, I believe that both are our peak, but they sharpen different aspects of ourselves. Winter is assessing, summer could serve as the action, both beneficial. Excellent answer, Alien Black Girl. Good answer. Vivid Eye Publication says, Michelle Bonilla, how about in the summer we focus more on being sunlight, going forth and shining light or action on the earth? Also a good answer. Good answer. Okay. Two good answers. Good. You're both right. And I don't need to add anything. Those are good answers. Yeah. So, and I'm just going to just add, well, I don't need to add anything. And I'm just going to add, talk about contradictory. But I'm just going to add, yes, that the peak is the key that you want to pay attention to. Like I said earlier, you can go into the infinite or you can go into the void. But either way, both of them stretch forever. You know what I mean? So there's room for you to learn a lot. There's room for you to listen a lot. And each one is a beautiful experience. Each one is divine. And they represent something different. Now, of course, Kun, or the receptive earth, is so much larger than the quiet spirituality of heaven. See, we always try to see heaven as a huge place, but it's not really. There's more people in hell. There's more. Just look at it honestly. You could take the most honorable Elijah Muhammad's numbers if you want, but yeah, there's more ignorant people than there are people in the know. The people in the know create a certain alignment, a certain connection where they now connect with the field, and in that higher field, there's less there. Yeah, so heaven would be a smaller space. It's the pinhead of creation. It's that singularity, that one creative or creation point that heaven is. But the earth is such a large place of unknowing. It's such a large place of darkness. You see, so it's actually bigger. The unknowing or the receptive flow is much larger than that which has been created, because for the most part, again, like I've said so many times, 90% of all of this is feminine. And the feminine is the receptive unknowing, because it's unneeding. I don't need to know. You see, so it's a larger space than the masculine of Eji Okbe, or the masculine of Chin that says, I gotta know, I gotta be, I gotta do, let me be, do, know. So let me force. It forces itself forward. The feminine, I'm just gonna flow. And the only thing that's making me flow is Oya, Sekhmet. Is making me flow. If not, I wouldn't even do that. I would just, I would just chill. I would just chill. And what's flowing for me is destruction anyway. It's the purging of destruction, All right, let's see what else is in the chat. I had a brief talk about the Kenyan woman who started their own village. I questioned where the young boys would get their manhood examples from, and a sister said women will teach them to be men. And he says they will lose all the cosmology passed down through rites of passage. Yeah. The women will teach them to be men. You see the effery that society has become. The women will teach them to be. And I've heard people say things like that. Who best to teach you how to be a man but a woman? Because that's who you're going to be interacting with. Dumb stuff like that. That's who you're going to be interacting with. And that's the problem now. These men don't know how to treat women. I don't see too many women out here. I rarely meet an actual woman. They're like unicorns. Women? Pfft, they're like unicorns. So how you going to teach someone to be a man and you don't even know what it is to be a woman yet? Because a woman would never say anything stupid like that. We're going to teach the boys how to be men. Are you out of your freaking mind? Oh, let me guess. You are out of your mind. You are insane. So yeah, that's just funny. That's actually funny. That was put in the chat just now. Yeah, and you're right. They will lose, that cosmology that should be passed down. They will lose it. But, that's what we're witnessing and seeing in society today anyway. So you already know what it looks like, right? It looks like skinny jeans. It looks like 19-year-old boys jumping up talking about I'm bisexual and can't even spell the word. It looks like this faggotized infatuation with thuggery, just wanting to be a hoodlum, a perpetual hoodlum. It looks like crime. It looks like high emotionalism where a dude gets in an argument with his girlfriend. He wants to stab her up with a knife or choke her to death because, she decided she wanted to kiss somebody else, or he caught her in the house with somebody else, all that high emotionalism because you never learned how to deal with things with game or how to deal with things like a G, or you were given this thwarted idea of what a man is by someone who's not a man because they only gave you that idea because it could work for their purposes. You didn't have a father or uncle saying, listen, man, let me tell you something about women, man. They just as foul as you are. They want sex even more than you do because desire came into the world through a woman, not through a man. We were here being and doing, and that was a different kind of desire. But sexual desire is not rooted in manhood. Sexual desire is rooted in femininity because she's the one who was more in tune with wanting to have children. You see, because that's where her kingdom is established, or her queendom. That's where her dominion is established. Her dominion is established over her children. Her dominion is not established on earth over men. So she had a sexual desire that she brought to you. So yeah, come on, baby, let's make some babies. Oh, we got our first thumbs down. Congratulations, y'all. Either way, I don't care. At least it's some kind of feedback. I'm glad I can see these things now. That's cool. But anyway, so yeah, so that's where the desire comes in at. Oh, I know I got the thumbs down because I laughed about women teaching boys how to be men. Oh, I guess I can't say that anymore. She don't like that. No, she don't like that. But yeah, man, so yeah, that sexual desire comes into the women. So, a lot of guys have this twisted view of females, and the things that maybe excite them or turn them on that they want to experience or enjoy in life. So when they feel so suppressed for so long and they finally get a chance to express it, even if it's in a sick way, and when I say a sick way, like lying, or she does something that violates her own integrity because she just felt so constricted and so suppressed, like, I just got to do this, then a lot of times males don't know how to respond. They don't know how to react because of what they came under, what they were born under, so they don't have that strengthening. They don't have that ideation that a man can give you, and ultimately, like I've said so many times, boys only listen to men. You ever see a woman try to control her son, 2, 3, 4-year-old son running around tearing stuff up? You see how much trouble she has? You can't control a man. Even at that age, you can't control him. So that's why, again, that interplay that we have, some of the issues that we speak about sometimes are just so alien to our actual makeup, to our actual origins. Sometimes it's just so alien. So we come up with these different scenarios like, oh, we're going to start a rites of passage and we're all women. Well, that's crazy. But when you live in an insane society, then we give credence and we give validity to things that make absolutely no sense. See, that's the problem. Certain issues that we go through here are just not normal parts of existing and living. So it's really confusing because we're trying to make it's something that's insane sane. And you guys ask me that all the time, like when I speak to you about the power and the supremacy of family, and then you always come with this question. Well, in lieu of not having a family, for those of us who don't have a family or don't have a mate, what can we do in lieu of that? Well, you can't do anything. That's why you're screwed up now, and you're going to stay screwed up because the machine of oppression has created it that way on purpose. Stop trying to get around the right thing. No, you can't get around it. Or you start a society of women and somebody asks you about how you're going to do the rites passage for the boys. Well, we're going to do it ourselves. There are no men. We're going to do it ourselves. So now you're going to turn out a bunch of screwed up individuals. And then you're going to come later and say, how do we fix our boys? See, that's the problem. We need some men to step up and help with the boys. Ain't nobody going to clean up. You got these damaged goods. And now we're supposed to come and be arguing with these effeminate, hyper-emotional young boys? No. That's your problem. So some things you got to stop trying to do all of this GMO horticulture. Stop trying to put things together that shouldn't be together and start from the proper basis and build up from there. It's like working out. You want your form to be good. Hey, maybe you can't do, 30 push-ups yet the right way. Maybe you can only do 11. But start with good form. Start with a strong base, a strong foundation, even if you can't do as much. See, that's what the repost is about during the winter solstice, when you pull back and make sure you realign the foundations and make sure that you're doing things correctly. Then you go back forward again, because if you stay extended, it's like you were in heaven. And remember what heaven was? Boring, because it was perfect. Why was it perfect? Because it was constantly extending out and didn't recoil, didn't negate from itself in order to take on something new to grow it. So it was perfect. So it was dying or dead, really. If it was dying, it would be even better, but it was just dead. All right, so I am as Will you speak on how to, well, Chief, will you speak on how to balance a Leo Virgo cusp individual dealing with the summer to the fall/winter transition? Sure, because you asked so nicely. Yeah. And I needed some of that to sit for a little bit. So you got the Leo Virgo cusp energy that you're asking about, right? And I guess you're actually saying, will I speak on it? You know, I wasn't planning on it, but I will. So basically what you're dealing with, again, when you're dealing with that, like you say, dealing with the summer to the fall winter transition, you want to start with the elements, right? So when you're dealing with Leo Virgo, you're dealing with fire earth. And fire earth, in many senses, you're dealing with masculine and feminine, fire being the masculine element, and the Virgo being the earth, element. So you're doing, he said, well, dang, Chief, if you're doing astrology readings for free, I want one. Right. No, Haru, I'm not doing astrology readings for free. But again, you're dealing with those two elements of the fire and the earth. And essentially what's happening there when you're on that cusp and you're going through that winter summer transition, it's really about what we were speaking about. Because what we call it in the Kabbalah, those two changes, it's the cusp of exposure, right? And essentially what that means is like it's a time where the fire represents exposure, it represents things that are seen, and the earth represents things that are either being brought to the surface, in light of that fire is being shined upon, or the earth sometimes can douse the fire out, like how we do with campfires and stuff. We use we use dirt to put the fire out. So when you're dealing with that particular type of energy on the cusp, or that particular combination, there's usually like a level of discomfort, and the discomfort again is because there's an expose. You got fire and earth meeting one another, and there's an energy where it's like this aggressive energy of the fire coming forth, but then you have the Virgo energy, that earth energy being like more underground, more unseen. So you have something that's very aggressive and bringing a lot of light coming together with something that desires to not be in the light, something that desires to keep secrets. One thing that you'll know about Virgos is that they are master secret keepers. They're known for their communication skills. They can communicate, but a lot of times they use their communication as a way to hide what actually is happening. So you ask them a question and they'll start giving you like this barrage of information, or this barrage of words, and they use that barrage of words to keep you away from what's actually being said. But there's a good part too about the transitioning of those two, because when you have the Leo and the Virgo energy, as you're asking about, the Leo strives for creation, because remember, it's that solstice energy, it's that high solstice energy. So it's striving to create things, it's striving to bring things, to the forefront, to expose things, to have fun in creation. And the Virgo energy is striving to basically get its thing off. And when I say its thing off, like one thing about the Virgo energy is that they usually have a lot of skills. They have a lot of talents. They have a lot of what we call gifts. And Virgos go crazy if they can't get their gifts off. If there's something that they want to do, or there's something they want to organize, and they're unable to organize it in the way that they want to, or unable to, like they could be working on a project, and if they're unable, to execute that project in the way that they've envisioned, they will go berserk. You better stay out of their way. Like if they can't get that thing off that they're trying to do, man, they're going to start chopping heads. They want to get their idea off. They want to get the thing off. But you remember, again, they have a very secretive way about themselves, man. They're not really extroverts like the Leo energy is. So when you combine the two together, you get that fiery expose energy of the Leo coming together with the secretive, creative nature of the Virgo, and it can be a good thing, if there's respect, because the Leo will pull the Virgo's talents out. The Leo will create opportunities for the Virgo to say, yeah, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to make this happen, we're going to make that happen. There, we're going to pull it out, we're going to bring it into fruition. So it's that quickened moment of creation where fire and earth meets, where there's either we're going to determine what it's going to be. Either we're going to blaze up, this fire, it could be a lightning bolt that strikes the ground, and cracks the ground open, and it exposes the secrets that's in the ground. Or it could be like a campfire or something, and the earth comes, it could be a mudslide or a rock or whatever, and it douses the fire and puts it out. But the interaction and what happens, which is usually pretty interesting, it happens very instantaneously. It happens in a very quick and precise moment, when those two are coming together, so that's what I would say. And of course there's more to it. I'm just kind of skipping over the surface a little bit, because anytime somebody asks me to speak on something, like they just put it's hard to say the exact part that you want to have spoken on. So, just from a cursory perspective, like that transitioning that you're speaking about, how do those two kind of transition and come together in a certain way, that's what the transition looks like. It's a very quick, it's a quick thing. And just always know that the Leo is looking for action and to create things, and that transition going from, because it's like August 19th to 23rd or 24th, something like that. I think that cusp exists on somewhere around there. I know it's like somewhere in that 19 to 23rd or 24th is that cusp where that hits. So it's a quickened transition in a sense, but just understand like the Leo, what it does, that energy wants to drive its fire and its power into the earth, in order to bring out the secrets of the earth. And the secrets can be the ideas that the Virgo has had that it's been keeping to itself. It's the passions, or a lot of times it cracks open that Virgo's tendency to not get things done. Because it's just not right. It's not, it's not perfected. It's not exactly how I wanted it to be. And a lot of times that desire for this perfected stillness, which is so often what the Virgo should really be, that desire for the perfected stillness of the Virgo turns into procrastination. So they begin to take on a spirit and an energy of procrastination, because they want everything to be so perfect that now they start to become paralyzed in analyzing how it should be. Maybe it should be like this, maybe it should be like that. And then they start to build up a lot of anxiety. A lot of times I find with Virgos, as they get older, they have hunched shoulders. A lot of times they have breathing issues too, because they don't learn how to breathe smooth, because they're not relaxed. They're always like, they're in this perpetual state of anxiety, but and they have hunched up shoulders, just from always like, having the tension there. But when that Leo comes, the Leo is like, we just gonna do it, man, and whatever happens, we're gonna do it. It's just they come with all this like energy from there, man. So yeah, that's what I would say. There might be more to it, but as far as your question, that's what I'm gonna hit upon. All right, so let me see if there's anything else. And all right, I am also said, Chief, I am a teacher, and it's amazing how many girls claim they don't like boys within the public schools. Seems like the only boys that are fine are the athletes, because the boys kind of act like girls in their own ways. Well, why you just said it, because they're being raised by their moms with no male example in the household. Yeah, and sometimes girls too. It depends on I don't know what age you teach, but, I'm an advocate of them learning separately anyway, but there is a season where boys just don't know how to conduct themselves too, the way that the things that boys want to do and the ways that they want to get down. And, girls a lot of times just, they can't relate to it. Some of the rambunctious nature of boys at a certain age is a little difficult and a little bit too much for girls to deal with. But yeah, I have had like some young ladies too who have professed, I guess we would say, like, you know, to be homosexual. And so there's been times I've said, like, yeah, I don't blame you, you know, because why am I going to be with a guy if he's going to be acting like a girl? You know, like, I might as well just be with a girl, because I'm going to be with a guy who acts like a girl, and he also has testosterone. So when he gets upset, he wants to start hitting on me. At least with a girl, it might be a little bit more peaceful, you know. So, and I'm oversimplifying it, of course, but you know, yes, I completely understand that sometimes that is the case, and it's not always that they're just being raised by their moms. A lot of times that's what it is, of course, but sometimes they have fathers who are effeminate or fathers who are weak, and that's actually more damaging. You know, and I've seen that a lot. You know, there is a male in the house or nearby, but he's just a weakling, and he's being ruled over maybe by a matriarchal family. You know, so now not only does a child, you know, have some other things going, but they're getting just a bad example of how a male should move and conduct themselves. You know, or sometimes what happens when the male does speak up and assert his position, you know, he's got to leave. She calls 911. Says, yeah, he in here acting quick. Get him up out of here. You know, or she files for divorce because I don't like the way he's talking to me. I don't like what he said to me, you know. So sometimes a young boy will see that and he'll say, well, I don't ever want to be that. I don't want to act like that. I'm going to get kicked out the house. I don't want that, you know, or the police going to come get me if I speak up, you know. So sometimes there might be a male there, but he's whack. You know, I've seen a lot of that. You know, he's just whack. You know, he's non-participatory. You know, he doesn't know how to step in and do things. Maybe he's a weakling and you know, he lets the woman do everything and she's gotta like make all the decisions in the house, you know, and she might even be asking him like, hey, what do you think of this? And hey, what do you think of that? And he's just, I don't know, babe, whatever you want to do. And she just got herself a complete weakling, you know, and maybe that's what she wanted because when she was younger, it felt good because, you know, sometimes females don't realize the damage that they're doing to themselves when they go get with these weak guys. You know, they like the feeling of somebody who's got their nose up their butt all day, and they like how that feels, and like, yeah, you know, he lets me do this and he lets me do that. But then as they get a little older and maybe their priorities shift, you know, and they have children, and there's like, you know, there's decisions to be made, real decisions, and they need somebody who they can really sit down at the table with, who's going to show some kind of leadership. Then sometimes they may realize, oh, wow, this was a mistake. I shouldn't have done this. Like, you know, I've seen that very often. So sometimes there is a guy around, there's a male around, but he's just worthless. He's worthless. He's basically a girlfriend with a penis. You know, he doesn't have any type of testosterone or force or heaven about him. He doesn't have any game. He doesn't have a plan. He doesn't have any type of forceful energy. He doesn't have any type of assertion about him. He doesn't have any type of aggression about him. He's just there. You know, maybe he just, you know, he's just around. Maybe he's just a penis, you know, or maybe he's just another income source. You know, so yeah, it's all kind of reasons why things go sideways. Or maybe he's, you know, he's a slave himself. He's slave minded. He doesn't have any sense of freedom about him. You know, so he ends up just dragging the entire family to the bottom of the ocean. A lot of times he's scared of his woman. He's scared to say, no, we're not going to do it like that. We're going to do it like this. Well, I'm saying, well, yeah, F what you saying. Or maybe he'll listen to what she's saying and say, okay, I heard you. Now this is what we're going to do. But I don't want to do that. Well, you're going to do it. You know, he's scared. You know, I might get another thumbs down on that one. Let's see. I'm going to look at the charts. Because usually when I start talking like that, thumbs down. Strong black man, thumbs down. Leadership potential and a strong black man, thumbs down. Matter of fact, let me report him to YouTube. Yeah, you know. So yeah, sometimes it's that he's scared. He's scared, man. And if he's scared, he's a danger. You know, I shared that in the Roots little video that I shared that time, you know, where I was saying that that's what the Katunga was saying in the rites of passage scene, that a fearful individual is a danger to themselves and everyone around them. It's true. You know, it's true. And the fearful individuals be the ones on first 48 telling everything. As soon as you give them a honey bun and a soda, they tell everything. Things that ain't even got nothing to do with the crime that's happening right there. They tell about crimes that happened back in the days, and you know, they just tell everything. They just afraid, and everything just spills out. And next thing you know, now your children are in foster care. You know, and it didn't have to go down like that, but he was just scared. You know, he was just so afraid. You know, he starts singing in there, singing in the jail, you know, doing doo-wop. You know, remember when cats used to be down on the corner of the boogie? He starts singing Lauryn Hill. Do, 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 do. It was Varnell. Varnell did it. You know, he started just singing like a damn mockingbird, like a hummingbird. You know? Because he's fearful, you know, and then he puts the whole family at jeopardy because of that, man. You know, so a lot of times these young guys, you know, they haven't been taught to face fear as an individual, face fear as a person, you know. So, you know, I'm just answering that whole, you know, sometimes it's they're raised by their mamas. Sometimes everybody is raised by mama, even the husband. Everybody's weak, you know. This is how I get families like that, you know. I used to get that a lot because I had dojos back in the day. I used to, you know, when I taught martial arts in my schools, and I would see these guys come in and drop their children. Sometimes they drop their wife and their sons off to come train with me. And, you know, we in there training as a bunch of men, you know, dieseled up, all oiled up. You know, and looking good and fighting, and you know, testosterone's up, and you're dumb behind going to drop your wife and child off in there and take your fat self somewhere else to go do something else, probably to go cheat. Most likely. Yeah, I got an hour and a half, I got 2 hours, they're gonna be in karate. Yeah, girl, I'm coming through. You know, dumb. And of course, usually, yeah, the sisters would, you know, if my husband was more like you, I just don't know. And then it starts getting funny, you know. Then you gotta tell him, listen, I can't train you anymore. You know, your husband gonna come in here and shoot everybody. You're gonna kill everybody because you know he's simpish. You know, he's real simpish. You're gonna come and kill everybody, so you gotta go, baby. You know, so yeah, there's all kind of reasons. But anyway, all joking aside and all deterring aside, I'm just having fun with that. But I'm not saying anything that's not true. Just having fun with it. But yeah, you know, so again, we're talking about the repos, and any questions you guys have, you know, feel free to post them in. She said, you're at a middle school. Okay. She said, I worked at a middle school where the sorority girls got together and said they were going to do a rites of passage after school for boys. I just laughed and they got offended. Yeah. You gotta be careful with that one. you gotta be careful, you know. Yeah, you know. Ogun Ashe says, and if your father is weak, okay. Oh, Ogun Biyi. Oh, hey, peace, brother. Yeah, from the video. Peace. Yeah, he said, and if your father is weak, a lot of time you get treated like a simp amongst the family. Yeah, I went through it. The only difference is that my life really had me in the streets, and my pop's a country boy. Yeah, sometimes the streets end up raising you, and that could be something. But that could go either way too. That doesn't, you know, always mean when the streets raise you that it brings the man out of you. Sometimes it brings the hoe out. It brings the girl out of you. You know what I mean? It's the potential of what's in you, because everyone's gonna respond to situations differently. You know, just like I have a very close brother of mine who grew up in a family, very matriarchal. Father was chased out of the house, and his father was cool as all heck, man. You know, I remember his pop showing us pictures of him with the Panthers back in the day. These are church people, but he was real cool with Afeni Shakur, and you know, was always like really kicking game to us back in the days. But the family had told us that he was a drunk and he abused the mother, which we found out none of this was true later, you know. But they chased him up out because he was strong, you know, and you know, it sometimes you have situations like that where, you know, the guy might get chased out, but the boy, like, he responded. He didn't at first. Yeah, he was like a mama's boy, but being around me, I used to always be like, come on, man up, we're gonna go do this, we're gonna do that. Nah, man, I gotta go home. You know, I'd be like, man, you a sucker, man, come on. You know, this is when we were young boys. And he started to man up to the point that he got real angry. I used to have to talk to him about that, because he would kind of like just flip out on women all the time. And I'm like, listen, don't take your mommy issues out on every woman. They ain't all trying to suppress your manhood, man. You got to go talk to your moms about that, and your sisters. And these were all church women, you know, so they, you know, they could always throw the Jesus thing in your face when you get too loud, you know, and they would do that to him. And, you know, little things I would try to get him to do, man. You know, like I remember one time us going out, this is back when I used to train with the FOI, and I'm like, look, man, come link up with me in the park, man. We out here training, you know, just come be with the brothers, you know. And again, we were young boys, and I couldn't have been any older than 18, 19, something like this. This cat comes out there with hard bottom church shoes on and sweatpants. I said, what you doing, man? Yo, I came out to train, man. I said, what? You gonna be slipping all over the place? Why you wearing those? Yo, man, I had to hide. I had to borrow these sweatpants from my man. I told my moms I was coming right back. I was just going down. What? Yo, it's Sunday, man. We just left church and she made food. And you know, tell her you out in the streets roaming. You'll come back when you come back, and you're gonna come back bloody and dirty. You know, so sometimes, you know, and eventually he was able to work through it and kind of gain some of that manhood. But his father has since transitioned. But one of the regrets that he did have was that for years he thought his father was an enemy, and he would ignore him. And I used to push him on his father, like, yo, man, your father's not dumb, man. He knows some. Man, I ain't trying to hear that, man. He hit my mother. He ain't, which he never did. We found out all that was a lie later, you know. So sometimes there's different reactions there, man. A guy may punk out, you know, in an environment like that, but then there's always the Ori, there's always the ancestors working with you that are gonna help you, you know. So you may punk out, or the manhood may stand up in you, and you be like, man, F that. Nah, I'm gonna be a man no matter what. The same thing with a woman. Sometimes women will be in environments where their femininity is not really honored, and they could be under women. You know, and their femininity is not honored. The things that they want to do, they're told to go out and do this and do that and do that. Why don't you go get a job as a CEO? It's got good benefits. You know, and the woman might say, I don't want to be a CEO. I want to make dresses, or I want to be a lawyer, or I want to be a surgeon, or something like that. I want to heal. I want to help. You know, and she might be fighting for her own femininity, or she might meet a man and fall in love, and you know, her family starts telling her, like, you only doing those things because that man telling you to do it. You stop eating meat because he told you to do it. You go, hell yeah, what better reason would you have than my man giving me some game, my man telling me how to live a better life and how to elevate and ascend where I'm at? Of course I'm gonna listen to him. You know, you ain't got a man. That's why you so angry. So sometimes it's not just the boys going through it too, man. It's I've seen that with young girls too. Sometimes they have whack fathers who don't respect their femininity. They have fathers that try to raise them like boys, you know, so that way they'll never need a man. Let me teach you how to do this so you'll never need a man. And then their daughters be single their whole life, you know, because you ain't need a man, right? But your father has no answer for that now. You know, now your father starts coming to you, when you gonna make some grandbabies? You idiot, you told me not to need a man. So I got to figure out how to make them by myself. You see? So it's all kind of, you know, little funny situations that happen a lot of times, man. But like I said, it's always the gods and the geniuses inside of each family that's born in darkness. See, because coming up inside of a family like that is a part of the Savior being born in the projects, the Savior being born in a cave, the Savior being born in prison. You know, all of these different stories that you read about world messiahs, You see, they're always born in these situations where there's no opportunity or there's less opportunity of what should truly be. You see, so in those environments there where these saviors come forth, the potential of their spiritual son, the potential of their inner genius, their spiritual son that's born and is quiet inside of them, that's what is being fed in the darkness, even in the darkness of their lunacy and insanity. That's what's being fed there. Like, for instance, someone like me coming up at a time where racial injustice, you know, was so high and was so blatant that either it was going to turn me into a Negro or it was going to turn me into a warrior. I decided to take the warrior path. But if I had not, maybe if I had not come up in that environment, or if I would have came up in a quote unquote post-racial America, you know, then that potential for that wouldn't have come. So that was a part of my darkness. And we all have similar. We may have multiple darknesses. We have, came up in racism, came up in this, came in that and that. We may have multiple darkness, you know. But the thing is, it's that darkness that brings forth the creativity and how you're going to do things. Just like when my man came down and to work out with us, he still came. Yeah, he had hard bottom shoes on and I'm making fun of him, you know, but he was there, you know, and that has been his world and his life going forward. You know, how do I still try to claim my manhood, you know, even when it's I'm being told not to have it, or it's being beaten out of me, or this or that. And he would make opportunities to, you know, I'd say, hey man, let's go ride out, go see your pops, you know, little opportunities like that. I would take it upon myself because I knew the importance of having that. And I also love for his father that I also had. He was like a father to me too. You know, he was a good brother, and I want him to see his son and be around him. And when I was young, I was always the one with the car. So I'd be, hey, you know, let's go check your pops, man. Let's go see what you're up to. Or you know, his pops used to, at one time he was with this sister, this Jamaican sister, so she would make food. Yo, let's go get some food. You know, let's go run through. You know, go, you know, have her make us some breakfast or whatever. But it was, you know, and he would find ways to do that, and it would cause conflicts and disruption. But he was fighting for his manhood. He was fighting to still have it and to make that connection with his father, to understand things about him, about himself, and eventually coming up in the church. Then at one point he was walking around with a kufi. And what was real interesting, we found out that was where the problem started with his father. That's when we found out what really happened, because he came to church one day with a crown on, and he was like, you know, I still love Christ, but I don't consider myself a Christian. I'm learning other things, this, that, because they, you know, they cornered him. Why are you wearing that on your head like a 5%er? And he was actually studying with the 5%ers at the time. Come to find out, his father did the same exact thing back in the days and was studying with Muslims. And that's when they started to exorcise him out of the church, because someone told him, you know, your father did the same thing back in the days, man. That's when he was talking to them Black Panthers. You see? So if he had not have made that connection with his father, he wouldn't have even known, like, wow, I'm fulfilling, I'm the unfurling of his creation. I'm fulfilling his prophecy without even knowing it. But just being able to connect for a moment is letting me know, like, no, there's a long line of something going on here. These things that I'm doing are not just coming out of thin air, or this desire that I have for manhood. In his senses, I would have been like the Black Panther, because I was the conscious one, you know, out here doing things, and he was connected with me. And to this day, all the little church people always had an issue with me. And whenever he would say something, they'd be like, oh, you getting that from him? You getting that from your man? He talking that nonsense, you know. And he had to fight through that. He still fight. They still talk about me to this day, you know. So that connection there, you know, like you say, brother, you know, Okumbi, it's you can have different reactions, man, coming out of that. It could either bring the manhood out in you and force it even more, or it can beat you down. The cave can become so many things, just like the womb can become so many things. It could be a tomb, you know, or it could be a springboard for life, depending on if you can stand up tall in it. You know, so if you come out of a dark situation, or you're born in a dark situation, are you going to stand tall, or are you going to allow it to collapse around you? You know, are you going to allow it to completely saturate you with whatever the character of it is? Because just like the womb and just like the Odu, you know, you have Iwa Ogdu, you know, or Iwa Igba Odu. And that's the character of the womb of the calabash. So just like each Odu we go through has a character, that's embedded in it, and you can choose to pull out the greatest fortune, the ire of that particular Odu, or you could succumb to the character of the Odu and never break beyond it because you think the Odu is total supremacy. Just like each Orisha or each consciousness is a womb of darkness unto itself, and you can go into that world and you can be completely imbued with that consciousness or that character, or you can stand tall in it. See, that's the whole thing we want to do when we transition, because it's the death of the sun, and then it's the birth of the sun. Right? So what is it that we want to do through our deaths and our births, or through our transitions, even when we leave this dimension, or this realm, I should say, this realm that we know as Earth? Well, we want to be able to stand tall in our consciousness. You don't want to come through the tubes backwards and sideways and, and all breech birth and all kind of, you want to come through with your consciousness intact. So how do you want to come through this birthing canal? If you take that moment to pause and to have that repose and thinking to yourself and say, okay, what am I? What am I? And wait for the doggone answer before you start typing memes on Instagram and Facebook. Well, I am the shut the heck up. It's a quiet thing. What am I? Okay, boom. So now when I go through this next transition of total receiving, I get a better sense of how large my cup is, you see, or how small my cup is. I can take more because of what I am. I can take more. And so the what I am is not a defining of what ego. It's not that. What I am is a defining of my capacity to learn, my capacity to be, my capacity to not be. It's really just taking inventory of all my different capacities in that moment that you take that pause during the winter solstice and say, what could I be? So it's just like my brother, who he obviously had that moment where he may have looked at me and said, damn, you out here doing this and he doing that. And, he doesn't seem like he's evil and he's wicked and he's helping people. Can I do that? Can I be that? Not I'm going to be like him or this and that, but do I have the capacity to? And I used to always tell him that, of course. Hey, man, the stuff you see me do, you could do too. I tell him that to this day. It ain't that hard. You could do it. We had that conversation. It's funny. We talked about that a couple strongs ago when I was driving down to New Orleans. He and I were talking on the phone, and he said, man, I was watching this thing on Diddy, and Diddy was talking about how everybody could be great, and I don't agree with that. He was like, there's only certain amount of room at the top for certain people, so that's not really true. Everybody can't be great. And I was like, bro, I disagree with you, because greatness is relative. So there's room for everyone to be great in their own dimension, because if you're the center of the universe, what's greater than you until you come to the realization that you are at the center of the universe? I've done certain things in my life where I was considered to be great, but I always knew somebody who did it better. I may not have advertised it, but I always knew there was, so-and-so still, still got me though on that one or this one or that. Even though I may have done things that people say, man, you're great at that, or you're amazing and you're magnificent at it. And I'm like, oh, thank you, I appreciate it. But in the back of my mind, the humility is like, but I still have the capacity to be greater, because look at what so-and-so was doing. Look at how this one did, how that one did it. You see? So there's room always for growth. There's room always for greatness, but it's a relative thing. But when you're looking at certain people and saying, okay, well, Diddy is great. Diddy or Quincy Jones or Phil Spector or Dr. Dre or whomever it is that you're looking at, these are individuals who have conquered the music industry, and they have taken the spots of greatness. Maybe there's only 5 spots or 6 spots of greatness, and now I can't be there. That's foolish, because there's things that you can do that they can't do. So there's a holistic aspect of greatness. Yeah, you may be able to do this and that and that and that, but hey, I can do a backspin. Or you ain't tasted my my vegan pizza. It's out of this world. It's great. So it's all relative to what you've created and what you've developed the capacity for in your universe. And that's what that winter solstice is going into, that kun that we speak about in our hexagrams of the sacred I Ching. It's the great receptivity. I'm paying attention to how receptive I can be, and my ability and my potential for receptivity becomes my greatness. My potential for receptivity becomes the greatness. And the summertime, my potential for doing, or my active doing, my kinetic, becomes my greatness. I'm actually doing, I'm making it happen. You see? But each one has to have its balance. An alpha female is not the female that's out here taking over the world. The alpha female is the most softest, demure, cultured, educated, sweet-voiced, manipulative, cunning, deceptive woman that you would ever encounter. She gets so many things done from the shadows as the unseen reality. You don't even see it coming. That's the alpha female. It's her softness and her receptivity that makes her the alpha, because she's stretching out in her gender assignment into the void. That's where she's going. The alpha male stretches out into infinite, and that makes him the alpha, because he stretches beyond everybody. He stands on top of everybody and becomes the light source and the need that we all need. That's the alpha male. The alpha female becomes the great bottomless well of receptivity that we can always draw from and plant things into, and she can transmute them. That's what makes her the alpha. This is a time for us. We burn that Yule log because we're bringing down our libidos, in a sense, our libidinous nature, that causes us to constantly want to create, do, manifest. We bring that down and to receive quietness, be the baby, be the child, humble yourself to the frailty of your humanity. Remind yourself that you were born in destitute. You were born destitute in darkness, and that was the frailty and the handicap that you began with. And remind yourself of that, and look at some of the handicaps, but the faculties that you also have at the same time. It's deep. It's deeper than you might imagine. It's deep. All right, so let's see. Okay. I am asked. She said, "Thank you very much. Do you have a donation link?" Yes, we do. Where are they? I'll put it in the description. Yeah, I know that's bad. I know. And people keep telling me about that. You don't push the donations much. You don't take donations as much as you should. Yeah, I know. We're just used to expanding our means when we need something to happen or to be done as a family. What we usually just do is start a new business. But on Anu Nation, there should be links, and I believe on Anu Life Global. I'm checking right now as I'm talking. All right. Okay, here we go. Is that it? And just, yeah. And you asked also something about a chapter in Vegas. I saw it out the corner of my eye. So yeah, let me put this in the chat. Here's the donation link. We need to put that on our New Life Global. And you asked about starting a chapter in Vegas. Yeah, you need to reach out to us, because that is very interesting that you asked about that. I'm actually in talks right now with a good person that I know in Vegas. You're more than welcome. And we're looking at creating a chapter in Vegas. In fact, we're lining up the dates right now for we're looking at doing a tour again in 2018 like we did in 2014. And we got some spots that we're looking at: Atlanta, Miami, Chicago. Is it Houston? Yeah, Houston wants to bring us again. North Carolina is trying to put something together. California, Colorado wants to see if they can get me out there. In Vegas. And so Vegas. And we were just talking about it yesterday. So it's very interesting that you asked about, you said, I would like to set up a time where you can come speak in Las Vegas. I'm interested. So please, what you do, just leave some type of contact information in the chat and I'll have someone get back to you. And you said you're also interested in setting up a chapter there. And that's actually what we've been talking about, is setting up a chapter in Vegas. So it seems almost random. And then here you come along asking about Las Vegas. So that's good confirmation. That's good confirmation. All right. So just leave a contact in the chat if you can, and I'll have someone get up with you. All right. Okay. Art of War Media says, I have gone through the looking for my manhood stage. The older I get, the more I understand my father and the experience that both of us have experienced. Yeah, that's why it's important to make those connections, even on the ancestral level, because again, we don't know you if we don't know your ancestors, and you probably don't know you if you don't know your ancestors. So it's important to make those connections with those energies like that. All right, so we're gonna get ready to Katachugi. All right. And, what I want to do is just remind you all, again, that I will be in Toronto, January 27th. And, I meant to put here, you know what? Before we go, let me put the link to the tickets. All right. Here we go. I'm putting a link to the tickets in the chat room as well. All right, and I'll put them on, the social media sites and stuff like that, so that you have them. All right. So the link to the Toronto link to the donation is there, and the link to Toronto are both there in the same place. All right. So, we're gonna have a good time as we always do. That's why I'm coming back, because it was so good we had to do it again. But yeah, we're gonna have a good time. We always do, and I always strive to crack your head wide open, crack, and leave everybody walking out the door stupefied. But healing comes through the listening, and sometimes I have to overpower you, because people come in with all kind of energy sometimes, and sometimes they're all over the place, in terms of just the thinking. And by the way, if you donate, I'll probably have someone pull your email from there too. We could look at the donation email if you don't feel comfortable leaving it in the chat, but sometimes people come in with all kind of different sort of energy, and you have to really, like I said, I was talking about earlier, racing beyond them in order to be able to speak to them. And sometimes you got to do that even in lectures, even though they came, to check you out and to listen, you still have to go hard on them, and there's different ways, to go hard. I don't mean you start, ridiculing people or anything like that. But, sometimes you have to just really go hard on with the information, with the wisdom, and then as a result they explode. There's an implosion for a moment, and then they listen, but they don't listen before that. Then they listen. So yeah, man, we're gonna be doing that Toronto 27. I put the link to the tickets in the chat, and I'm also gonna have them put on. So when I say have them put, I know the family, I know y'all are listening, so could y'all take care of that for me, please? They're going to put them on my Facebook, and the link is also already in my Instagram. Any of you follow me on Instagram, Chief Yuya. I know I don't put a whole bunch of videos and funny stuff every day like everybody else, but I'm there. I'm doing better. If anyone has noticed, I'm doing much better. For the past 5-6 years, I didn't have these accounts. I ain't touched them. Been 2 pictures on and stuff. But if anyone knows, I done picked up the pace. I promised myself I was gonna try to get into it more. So maybe the past 2-3 months, I've been putting more stuff up regularly and stuff like that. I'm trying. I'm a work in progress too. I'm trying. I'm trying to get into it. The Twitter, I'm still because I just. Yeah, I'm just not into the Twitter too much because like either you're gonna be telling all your private business all day, or you're gonna be giving words of wisdom, which I think is so corny. You know, who are you to tell people what they're supposed to be doing every day? You know, don't trust people like this because they do this. You know, there comes a time when you got to build by. Shut the heck up. You know, for Instagram, it's easy. I could just put up a video clip of me speaking, or and I don't actually manage it all the time. They do it for me, or put up something I might have said. It's easier. But Twitter is like you gotta. I don't know. It just feels a little obnoxious sometimes. But I'm doing better. All right, so yeah, in Art of War, as he said, we have many similar situations. I'm refining some of them and learning to follow his lead on others. Mojuba Baba. All right, Kodupe, you know, you're more than welcome, my brother. You're more than welcome. All right, so we're going to get out of here, plus because I have readings today. You know, it's a work day for me. I know a lot of you are chilling and preparing for, I guess, Monday. Yeah, but I'm still moving. All right, so Toronto in the month, the ticket links are in the chat, but they're also in my Instagram. And while I'm working on these readings today, the family is going to put them on my other social media sites and our social media sites, so you can get up there and have some fun with us and learn some things and get empowered and get healed. That's kind of my, for this tour and stuff that we're doing in the coming year, healing is really going to be, you know, a central pivotal point to try to get people, man, so they're not crying all the time. You know, I cried every other day and just feeling like nothing all the time and feeling like, you know, there's no hope. You know, we're gonna really put some serious work into really introducing some. Okay, I got you. I am introducing. Excuse me. Some effective modalities of healing. You know, for people who need it. You know, that's something that I'm going to kind of make a focus for a little bit. All right. If y'all can stand it, you know, we've covered a lot of knowledge in Chief Speaks and a lot of techniques. And next year, we're going to focus more on, how to get yourself healed and how to get your people healed and get past some of the insanity that we're accepting far too often as being normal. You know, that's one of the things that we want to look into and we're going to be working with. All right. Okay. So I'm out of here. All right. Everyone be well, be safe, man. You know, during these national holiday seasons, man, people like to get drunk and then put the pedal to the metal. All right. So if you don't have to drive, stay off them freaking work roads. And always remember too, on those days like Christmas and stuff where people know that you're going to be home, especially early in the morning. That's usually when all the raids come. So if you are riding dirty or if you're living dirty, get that stuff out of the house before Christmas dawning, because that's usually when they kick the doors in, because they know that you're there. That's a little bit of street game for you. All right. In fact, I advise you don't even be home on Christmas Day. Get out the house. All right. Go somewhere else. Let them kick in the door of an empty house. All right. And then get out the streets. Get out the streets. Go get a job. All right. Go get a job. or sell incense or something, man. All right. Until such time, all of you be well. And you're more than welcome, Fase and Shaga Guru and Sister Marva and Sister Sequoia and Georgina and Cinnamon and Nikki Love and, of course, Anwar and I Am and Sister Michelle and Brother Haru and Brother Ra and Ogun Beji and Alien Black Girl Ogun Biyi. You know, Beji is a different one. And, you know, all of you who showed up, Sister Andrea / Michelle, Vivid Eye Publications, you know, You Scared, who was hitting us up with the nice emojis, and Mike, and Daniel, and Original Man, Esme, Jason, who was dropping in, who saw my 7 clones, one of my 7 clones, you know, and Original Man. And Brother Randy and Brother Zach made a rare appearance. He jumped in the beginning and said peace and then got quiet. Sister Omega, Lola and Keith and everybody else, Avery and anyone else I might have missed, and Georgina, of course, Strong Mind, Strong Body Fitness, and the other Nicole too, and Styles by Nancy, you know, Young Butterfly. She's probably at work by now anyway. All right. And Brother Achille, who just showed up. Talking about greetings. Yeah, you just gotta hit the rewind button, brother. That's all. And Sister Ruby. Hey, Ruby. What's happening? The farmer. All right. Until such time, I will see you all very soon. All right. Be well and be safe, man. Don't let these fools run you off the road. Peace.